Chapter 7, Georgia, August 21st, 2011. Crossing the great southern Appalachian Range and through the Tennessee Valley. The Appalachian Mountains are one of the finest things on this planet, don't you think? Asked Andy. Andy, you wouldn't last a day in these mountains. As Red answered and laughed. Whatever. And Andy just laughed and said, Strange moonlight. Aiken, man. Conrad Aiken. Land. Sweet old Georgia moonlight, beautiful. Conrad would say the age of faith is over. Was he witnessing the dying popularity of poetry in the 20th century? He buried himself in the 19th century poetry to master the forms. Was he bringing life back to poetry? He was fascinated by reincarnation. I think he was a fighter, fighting for poetry. The potter was feeling the world get darker and changing rapidly. He was feeling the evolution of poetry. He probably wasn't happy about it. He wrote every day and every form so he could just plain be, using the techniques of those before him. As he said, he didn't give a damn about the meaning, just wanted to master the form. You know, that makes me think, said Red. He knew he was breaking new ground, like his wireless messages poem. The man was complex, Red, Andy explained. He did not care about being popular, and he did not see poetry going new places or poets back in his time. He knew that poetry was cruel and at the same time uplifting. He also knew that no one in his day had a clue as to where poetry was going. Are you experiencing deja vu, Red? Asked Andy and laughed. He made poetry possible, Andy, and it was taken for granted. The man set high standards, both artistically and ethically, for the art of literature, said Red. Charlie turned his head towards Andy and Red and said, Aiken seen the narcissism was a serious mental disease that was spreading seriously fierce. I consider myself a pilgrim. You two seem to be pilgrims, so I don't think you both have to worry about narcissism eating away at your mind, heart, and soul. Red looked at his nook and said, How do you free these people from this? They are trapped. They have to write a painful journey from the beginning and fight their way out, said Charlie. Andy spoke and said, Lord, let me die, but not die out. Dickie man, are you thinking about James? Knew he was trapped? Red asked. Damn skippy, Red. Andy said, Poetry is a hazardous occupation, very hazardous. There may be bad things there in the inside that you cannot handle. And he quoted James Dickens. Then Red quoted James. I believe that the American poet ought to be a tough son of a bitch. He sought to hold his own and his culture on his own terms and not compromise under any circumstances. Then Charlie spoke and quoted Dickey. A poet trains himself to stand out in a storm and be struck by lightning. If he is lucky enough to be struck 6 times, he becomes immortal. Randall Gerald said, It's all right. We are here, and we are early, and the station is crowded. Well, Andy, let's go with it. I have work to do. We have to find poets, said Red. Yeah, I know we are here to do a written documentary, Andy answered. Charlie began to recite a poem out loud about Georgia. Andy and Red looked at him and said in sync together, Nice. Charlie then smiled and said, I used to write poetry when I used to hunt elephant, but them days are long gone. Red looked at him funny, and Andy then asked, You hunted elephant? Yes, but that was a long time ago, replied Charlie. And he got up, and it seemed to Red and Andy that he didn't want to take this any further. Red just looked at Andy and raised his eyebrows. Georgia. The poetry train arrives in Georgia at its next destination. A state of beauty and pride and great fascination. The train's brakes let out a round of loud squeals and screeches as it comes to a halt next to the boxcar full of fresh Georgia peaches. The poetic history to be uncovered, for sure, will amaze and astound, as poets and writers of note will surely be uncovered and abound. Inhabited by mound-building Native Americans before Europeans arrived, the last of the original 13 colonies in the Civil War it survived. With over 70 colleges and 45 private institutions, Georgia provides superior education across its wide populous distribution. Railroad history goes back to 1830, and Georgia today is still a major railroad center. The Norfolk Southern and CSX survive today and provide constant travel adventure. Augusta, Columbus, Macon, Athens, and beautiful Savannah, great cities all along with Georgia's largest city of Atlanta. So as the poetry train slowly pulls away from station to station, our journey continues as we travel across this great nation.